And once everybody finds a nice cozy seat, just before let me get out of this light. There we go. Okay. Before we get started today, I do have like a little blanket, like a beach blanket, just kind of wrapped up here. I'm going to be using it just like under the knees. You can also do it under the wrists if you'd like to. We are going to do a low lunge today. And for me and my body, if I'm on my knees for too long, it just starts to get annoying and I get in my head about it. So feel free to grab like a little blanket or a towel, or even just doubling up your mat and rolling it over itself works too. Your mat might not recommend that, but I do. Okay, so once we find ourselves in a nice, comfortable, upright, seated position, the hands can fall wherever they may. Maybe you want to bring them to heart center or on the knees or even on the ground next to you. Let's just take a few minutes here in the beginning of our practice to tap in to the breath and the body. These online classes are a little different than in person. You don't have to really drive anywhere or like beat traffic or find a spot for your mat. You're kind of already slightly grounded in your own home, so that is a really nice benefit. There's not much to leave outside of the studio, so that's a nice added plus. But let's definitely take a minute here to kind of tap into our mat and to our yoga practice. We've maybe been in our house all day or all week. So take a moment here to just think of this space that we're in as a slightly more sacred one than just our living room or our bedroom or wherever we might be. And we'll start to take a deep inhale through our nose and exhale it all the way out through the mouth. One more time, inhale deep through the nose. Exhale all the way out through the mouth. Good. Let's bring our hands to heart center here. And keep the inhales nice and deep through the nose, but start to keep the exhales coming out of the nose. So don't sigh it out of the mouth, just exhale with control through the nose. Finding that slight restriction in the back of our throat, our Ujjayi breath, or oceanic breath as it's sometimes referred to as. It helps connect the body and our breath and the mind to our movement. So each individual breath today, try to pair it with a movement and vice versa. So on your inhales, you reach up, and your exhales, you empty out, all of that throughout the practice. Okay, let's go ahead and start opening up the spine, starting with the crown of the head. So we'll reach up, deep inhale, arms come up above the head, stretching to the ceiling. And exhale, bring them back down. Maybe finding the mat, maybe finding the thighs. We're gonna just drop the right ear to right shoulder over to the side. And then take that right hand and just add the weight of your hand onto the head. No tugging involved, just like the weight of the palm, helping open up the neck. Still keeping with our breath. And we'll release that right hand, coming back through center. And we'll bring the left ear to left shoulder. And then placing that left palm on the side of the head, just so the weight of the palm helps open the neck. Again, we don't want to like yank the head down, just a little bit of extra pressure. Good, we'll release that. The head comes back to neutral, and we'll drop our chin to our chest. So opening up through the back of the neck. And we want to be nice and gentle when we're opening up the neck. But if you want to add a little extra pressure to this pose here, I don't know how to be out of the sunlight. But to add a little extra pressure, you can go ahead and interlace the hands behind the neck and just the weight of the arms kind of help opening all those little vertebrae there right behind the neck. Again, don't really tug. Good, and we'll come back up to neutral. I think right here is my sweet spot. Okay, so we'll come back up to neutral. Again, inhale, sweep the arms up high above head. And exhale, twist open to the right. So left hand to right knee, right hand just behind the low back. Your inhales lengthen the crown of the head. We still want to be nice and tall here. And the exhales maybe sink you a little bit deeper into this twist. We'll come back up through center. Nice tall spine. And then we'll exhale, twisting open to the left. So that right hand will come to the knee. And the left hand comes right behind the back, pulling you open to the side. And sweeping the arms up, back through center, we'll find bound angle pose. So the soles of the feet will come together and we'll hinge at the hips, folding forward. Only hinge as far as you can keep your back nice and tall. We'll turn to the side so you can see that better maybe. And again, so we just hinge forward here. We don't want to curve the back down. That's really easy. It doesn't give us a whole lot of benefit. So we want to make sure we're just hinging forward at the hips. Then wherever you feel that tension, just let go. Let gravity slowly push you down. Exhales, sinking you a little bit lower. Inhales, keeping that straight spine. Good, we're gonna hinge really slowly back up to seated, and we're gonna come to our knees. I'm gonna be long ways on my mat, I guess that's how you would say that. I'll turn that down just a little bit. So I'm gonna be wide facing, so you guys can get a good view of this. We're gonna move into gate pose. So on the knees here, like we're about to enter maybe camel, knees, chest is upright. We'll deeply inhale, upward salute. And stretching out our right leg to this side. So we want the pinky side, the pinky toe side of the foot to be grounded into the mat here. And inhale, nice and high with the arms. So our right leg is out extended, so we're gonna tip over to the right hand side. Hand can come just to the leg here. I'm gonna close this so you guys can see me. Cool, okay. So we're extended over to the side, and then we'll come back up, hinging nice and tall, and we're gonna do a tilted gate pose. So falling over to the left, hand comes to the mat, chest is twisted open, nice and bright to the side, and gazing up at that hand. Really lengthening through this side body here. And then we'll tilt back up through center, and we're gonna hinge forward at the hips for our folded gait. Coming down, we'll bring the hands right under the body. Check in with that grounded leg. Make sure it's nice and stacked under the hips. You don't want it to be way out to the side. And that left hand will come down right in front of that left leg. So our right is still outstretched, and we'll twist open to the side here. Our gaze is up at the ceiling. Nice deep inhales and exhales. We'll place that right hand back down on the mat. We'll tuck our right leg in and go ahead and shoot the left leg out to the side, again grounding down through that pinky toe side of the foot. We don't want the foot to come up on the heel. We want to try to plant it down Kind of stretching out those little muscles there in the ankle. Inhale, arms up above our head. Exhale, falling over to the left, opening up through that side of the body. And we'll slowly come back up through center and we'll tilt our gait to the right. So falling over to the side, really reaching nice and long, trying to stretch that side body and keep the chest nice and open. Good, then we'll come back up through center using our side obliques to pull us back up nice and strong. And then we'll hinge forward at the hips, bringing both hands down to the ground. Again, check in with that right foot. Is it too far out for that right knee? Do you need to maybe stack it right under that hip? Just check in with your alignment. And then we'll inhale, reaching that left arm up, so twisting the chest open to the left. Good, we'll slowly bring that back down. And now we're gonna bring both of our knees down to the mat. So we're in a tabletop position. You guys can orient yourself however works for you on your mat. We're gonna move through a couple rounds of cat-cow to even further lengthen that spine. So we'll inhale, drop the belly low for cow. Exhale for cat, curving the spine, tucking the tailbone in. And we'll move through that a couple of times at your own breath. Our inhales, bring us slow, tailbone high. Exhale, empty it out, curve the spine. We do want those wrists to be right under the elbows, right under the underarms, and same with our knees. Our knees are right under the hips. Good, now we'll take our knees wide to the mat, toes come together, hips sink back like we're sitting on our feet, and let the chest melt down to the ground for child's pose. Here in child's pose, make sure we're still using that Ujjayi breath to guide us. We want a nice inhale through the nose with a slight retention at the top. See how long you can draw that inhale, and see how slow you can release your exhale. We're gonna slowly push up to tabletop. And once we're in tabletop, we're gonna tuck the toes, moving nice and slow in the beginning here, just warming up. We'll raise our hips up and back for downward facing dog. Another great use for your towel or your blanket is to even place it under the heels in down dog. It helps bring the ground up to you. If those heels are having a hard time reaching the mat in the beginning of class, this can help give the hamstring something to rest on. We'll start pedaling out the feet here if you're not already, loosening everything up, lengthening. And we're gonna come up onto our tippy toes nice and high. Bend the knees down towards the mat and hold for a hover. Knees are about 4 inches off of the mat. And then we'll come raising the hips back up onto our tippy toes. We'll let the heels sink back down for regular down dog. And then we're gonna melt forward into plank. So shifting the weight forward onto the wrists, into the hands more. We're gonna be in high plank pose here. And then we're gonna bring the knees down, bending at the elbows, followed by the chest, so the chest hit the mat. And finally our chin. And then we'll melt down flat onto our mat, hands staying nice and close, hugging into the body. We'll push up here for cobra. Keeping a nice bend in the arms, but our chest is nice and bright. like the sun that's in my face right now. But hey, at least it's sunny. And then we'll sink back down to the mat here. We're gonna find half bow pose. So bending the right leg up to the ceiling. We're gonna rotate that shoulder behind us, reaching and grabbing for that back right foot. And if it's hard to make contact, just as far as that hand will go to the foot, that's a good stretch there, that low spine. So if you don't make it, it's okay. And we'll release that grasp, pushing up again for cobra, so hands nice and close to the body, elbows pulled into the sides. Nice deep breath, gaze is at the ceiling. Good, melt back down, rotate that other arm right behind, grabbing the left foot this time, or left leg. Deep breaths here, stretching out that low back. And nice and carefully releasing it back down to the mat. Let's find cobra one more time. So hands are nice and close. Squeeze the elbows, pushing up and back. This is Molly. Gonna help? And then we'll slowly melt the chest back down, tuck our toes, lift off of the mat, find downward dog. And again, pedal out the feet here. And then looking in between the hands, let's either hop or step to the top of our mat. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, hands to heart center. Awesome. We're gonna move through our vinyasa really quick to get everything flowing, get the heart rate up a little bit. So we'll inhale, upward salute. Exhale, nice deep forward fold, hinge at the hips. Let's hang on here for just a few breaths, lengthening those hamstrings. And we'll inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping back for plank pose. And then we're gonna move through chaturanga. So shifting forward into the hands, bending at the elbows for a hover, untuck the toes for upward facing dog. And then tuck the toes, hips up and back, downward dog. Good. And here's where that nice little towel will come in handy. I'm gonna move mine under my knees, where my knees are gonna fall. I'm gonna curve my spine coming up onto the tippy toes so I can draw my right knee all the way in between my hands. Once your knee, or your foot is in between your hands rather, we're gonna drop that back left knee. So right foot is forward at a 90-degree angle, left knee is out on the mat. As you can see, I do have a towel under mine. Good, and walk that front knee out as long as you need to feel that stretch nice in the hips here. We wanna open up in the hip space. And let's bring the arms up high above our head, upward salute. Exhale, hands to heart center. Breathing through this. Good. We'll place our hands on either side of our foot here, tucking that back toe, coming up into warrior one. Good, we'll melt down, humble warrior, chest to the front of the leg. Good, we'll maybe shorten our stance a little bit here, and we come up to a tall standing position, straighten that front leg, straighten out that back, left leg as well, and we're gonna move through triangle pose. So first, opening to the side, tipping down. Chest is nice and open for twisted triangle. The left arm is to the ceiling. Good, now melt forward. So we want our hips neutral and our chest neutral, folded forward on that front leg. So just like humble warrior, but with a straightened front leg. Good, and then nice and with control, let's hinge up from our hips, and we'll jump forward, top of the mat. We'll move through our vinyasa, so inhale, arms up above head. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping back for plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog. Tuck the toes, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. Nice deep breath in and out of the nose, looking in between the hands. Come up high on the tippy toes, tugging that knee to chest, so that left hand can swing up in, or that left foot can swing up in between the hands. We'll drop that back knee down to the mat. Coming up for low lunge. Let's find a nice upward salute. Opening up through this hip space. Exhale, plant the hands back down, tucking that back toe. We're gonna come up through warrior one. Grounding down through all four corners of that front foot. Draw that right hip. See if you can think about pulling it into the top of the mat. Good, chest falls forward, humble warrior. Come back up, warrior one, nice and strong in that front leg. I have to shorten my stance for triangle, so I'm going to make a little micro hop inward. Make this back leg a little more straight towards the top of my mat. Front leg is straightened, and we're going to tip down, opening up, twisted triangle, looking at the ceiling or the ground if you're having a hard time balancing. Just keeping your gaze down towards the foot can kind of help that. Good, and we'll fold again, neutralizing the hips, coming onto that front leg, just like humble warrior with a straight leg. Good, we'll come back up, bringing that right foot to meet the left at the top of the mat. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, forward fold. In your forward fold here, walk the feet apart about like 3 to 4 inches, nothing crazy, a little less than shoulders width. Find a nice bend in the knees for ragdoll pose. So grab opposite elbows, let the head hang low, swing back and forth. Good, inhale, reaches you all the way up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a few deep breaths here in Tadasana. I'm gonna straighten this a little bit. Cool. Taking a few deep breaths here in Tadasana or mountain pose. Drawing the shoulders down and away from the ears. Pull the shoulder blades slightly together. Good, we'll exhale, forward fold, hinging at the hips. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, come into chair pose. So sink the hips down and back. You do want the chest to keep a little bit of brightness, So we are sitting down to the ground, but we want our line of energy to be still coming out through the head. Hands to heart center. Exhale, forward fold. Good, again, inhaling for chair. Maybe a little bit deeper this time. Think about squeezing the legs in together, the toes come in together, arms reach up nice and high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, melt you down. Let's plant the hands, move through your vinyasa at your own pace. So high to low plank, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Toes tuck, downward facing dog. Come up nice high on the toes in our down dog here. Bend the knees to just above the mat for a nice hover. Engaging that low core. Straighten the legs back up, downward dog. Inhale, bring the right foot in between the hands. Coming up, whoop, for warrior one. Holding here, nice strong legs. With using all the strength in that back left leg here, we'll bound forward, top of the mat. Find a nice long spine. We're gonna shoot this right leg out behind us, finding warrior one on this side. Good, we'll plant the hands back on the mat, find a high plank pose, and then drop that left knee to the mat. So our left knee is down, both hands are planted, our right foot is still out behind us. We're gonna slightly open up to the side, not fully open, but just slightly, keeping both hands planted. And once you find that balance, we're gonna rotate this right arm. So fully opening up through that shoulder socket, rolling the arm in one direction, and then take it back the other way. So opening up in the other. Good. Bringing that back down to the mat. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So our right knee will stay down, left foot comes out. We find our balance, opening up slightly before we start rotating that left arm in one direction. And then the other. Good. We'll come back down. Let's find high plank. And draw that right knee to the right elbow. Keep it nice and high. Right knee up towards right elbow. And back down, high plank. Left knee, left elbow. Back, high plank. Hips push up and back for downward dog. Melting forward, plank pose. Inhale, right knee to right elbow. Exhale, place it back. Inhale, left knee, left elbow. Exhale, places it back. Shift your hips up. Downward facing dog. From our down dog, let's bring our right knee to the nose. Hold it here for a few breaths. And back down. Into the nose, right knee. Inhale. Exhale. Place it back. Same thing on the left. So left knee to nose. Inhale. Exhale. Place it back. Inhale. Left knee to nose. And back down. Knees wide to the mat, toes come together, sitting back for child's pose. Let's walk the hands over to the left. So stretching out that right side of our body, See if you can bring the right hand on top of the left hand. And slowly walk it to center. And then walking our hands over to the other side, all the way to the right. And then see if you can bring that left hand on top of the right hand. Good, coming back through center here. Let's shift forward for a tabletop position here. And we're gonna hold a static sunbird pose. So the right foot comes out behind the body. We'll flex the toes down to the mat. Once we find our balance here, start to lift that left hand off the mat as well. So hold here nice and strong. Inhales and exhales through the nose. Place that hand and foot back down. Same thing on the other side. Left leg lifts, toes point towards the mat. The right hand comes out nice and long. Back down, tabletop. Let's tuck the toes, push our hips up and back for downward facing dog. Let the head hang below the neck here. Shake it back and forth. We're looking back at our toes. Good, looking forward at the top of our mat. We're going to hop or step forward. So always look where you're going and bring the feet top of the mat. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. From here, we're gonna find stork pose. Hope everyone's feeling good. We're gonna find stork pose. So just a nice, simple standing balance. Hands can be at heart center or even up above the head, outstretched in like an upward salute. Let me fix that a bit. Okay. So I'm gonna do hands to heart center and shift my weight into my left foot. And then I'm gonna bring the right off the mat. Once I find I'm nice and steady, I'll start using my low abs to draw my knee up a little higher. Again, flexing through that foot. Hands in heart center. Finding our balance here. Good, slowly place that back down. Ground the right foot back into the mat. Maybe open the toes, lift them up and put them back down. Shift your weight into that right foot and start to draw that left knee up. Hands can shoot above the head, nice and tall, or at heart center to kind of pull it all together. Good, and slowly placing that back down. Same thing, let's do it all over again. Right side first. We're gonna add a little something here. So make sure you're nice and grounded in that balancing foot. If you want to, lift up the toes, place them back down, really grip in through all four corners of the feet. And then begin to lift the opposite leg. So my right leg is lifted here. My toes are flexed. Bringing that knee, keeping it in to chest. Start to kick it out behind you for warrior three. Maybe you want to find airplane arms. Keeping the chest nice and bright, making sure the hips are staying neutral. Check in with that back foot. Are the toes pointed down? Are they off to the side? Inhale, let's tilt back for stork pose. So keeping that same balance the whole time. Holding here. Good, and place that foot back down nice and slow. Same thing on the other side, but first let's roll out that left ankle. Give it some love. I don't know if I have like bad ankles, but if I don't roll out my ankles after I do a standing posture, it's like no go. Okay, so we'll shift our weight into the right foot this time. Pulling that left knee up, finding our hips nice and aligned. Flexing that foot. And then we'll start to push it up behind us like we're kicking it away. Toes stay pointed down. Maybe the arms come out behind you. Maybe they come forward. Feel free to take a bind behind the back. Whatever feels good. And then slowly bringing that knee back up for stork pose. Good, go ahead and place it back down. Maybe roll out both feet. Give your legs a shake. We're not done with the balancing just yet. So we're gonna ground down again here, shifting the weight into the left foot. We'll bring that right knee to chest, but give it a nice squeeze this time. And then we'll open out to the side. This outstretched right arm for me kind of helps that counterbalance, that your hand can come behind the back, opening up through the shoulders. Just find what feels good, but helps you balance here. And then we'll come back through center nice and slow. Place it back down, moving to the left side. So right foot grounds. Slowly pull up the left, hug it into chest. And then open up nice and wide, finding a nice hip opener. Again, you can have the opposite arm out to kind of counterbalance you here. And back down through center, let it all down. We're gonna move through like a toe stretch, heel stretch pose. So shifting the weight into the left foot, reaching down for either the ankle, shin, or if you can reach the big toe of your right foot, reach for that and just stretch out to the side and in front. Just like we did earlier. And then slowly bring it back down, shifting over to the other side, tucking in that left knee, reaching down. You want to keep the chest nice and tall. So maybe this is as far as we get, or we just grab the shin, because you don't want to be like down here like that, because it's all about a nice, tall, long spine. And if you have to bend through that grounded foot, sometimes I feel like that kind of helps bring the chest closer to the hip level, if that makes sense. Good, release that coming down. Let's find a nice forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, planting the hands, moving through your vinyasa. High plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, and we'll meet in downward dog. Pedal out your feet. Let's come up onto the tippy toes together. And then we'll bend the knees nice and deep, nice and low to the mat for a hover. Breathing here, pushing the hips up and back, finding downward dog. Looking in between the hands, we're gonna bring the right knee to our right wrist. So that looks something like this. And then slowly, once that right knee and wrist have made contact, start to slowly walk that back left foot down for pigeon pose. Let's keep a nice tall spine for a few moments here. I know when we find pigeon, we all kind of instantly want to fold forward, which is all fine and great. But let's try to see if we can stretch the other way. So almost like a little back bend. We don't want to put too much compression on that low lumbar. So sometimes I just like to walk my hands to my shin or to my calf and see if I can straighten the back a little bit. We'll hold here for a minute, just opening everything up. Extending through the crown of the head. And if this feels good, a nice straight spine feels good, you can even push back a little bit farther. That's totally fine too, finding a deeper back bend. And then slowly start to work your way down to the mat. I like to kind of brace myself with my forearms first, like a little halfway pit stop kind of deal. And then once I feel that hip open up a little bit deeper, I start to sink down a little farther. Again, a nice place to add a block or a blanket. I'm going to roll up my little handy dandy beach towel here and just bring my head down to the towel. Start to really tap into your breath, or not start. Hopefully you have been the whole time. But in this pose especially, make sure you're really breathing through it. I know pigeon can be, you guys can stay where you are, I'm gonna sit up so you can hear me. But I know pigeon can be kind of an intense hip opener. And you normally hold it for a good amount of time. But that is just to ensure that we're really opening up through the hips. So take this time to still keep with the breathing instead of like holding our breath through the difficulty. Make sure, even though you might have a lot of sensation happening, we're breathing into that space, sending your breaths to the hips, to the openness, even if it might be a little bit tense. It's really easy to, or for me, I feel like it's easy when someone's saying inhale, upward salute, exhale, downward dog, all of that. It's easy to pair breath and a movement. For me, static postures like pigeon are harder to remember to breathe deeply and to extend my breath to certain parts of my body. Begin to start to slowly come up. So using your hands to walk you up, we're gonna find that tall spine again. I like to, like I said, bring my hands to my leg to kind of help push my chest upwards because the inclination is to go forward. And then we'll plant our hands nice and strong. I like to walk my foot a little closer to the body, plant my hands, tuck my back toe, shift my weight forward into my hands, come up for high plank, and let's move through down dog. Keeping with our breath here, let's inhale, lift that right foot off the ground. Exhale, opens it up to the side. Make a couple small circles with that knee. We'll come back, three-legged dog. Place the right foot back down, neutral downward dog. And then looking in between the hands, we'll bring the left knee to our left wrist on the mat. And then slowly start to wiggle that back leg down. We want to check in back there and make sure it's as straight behind the body as possible. We don't want it to be too far out to one side or the other. And again, we're gonna shift through all of this sensation here. I know at first it kind of feels uncomfortable and you want to just fall forward, but we're gonna stay here, maybe move around a little bit and find where it's comfortable. And then we'll slowly arch back behind us. If king pigeon is in your practice, you have a few moments here to take that as well. So reaching back, grabbing that back foot, pulling it into the body. And then slowly we'll start to melt forward. So let's use those hands as little props. Maybe take a break at about forearm height. Let the hips open up on their own because I promise they will. Also, another great point of contact for your towel as you're melting down into this is in that hip space. So your hips have something to really ground into instead of just being suspended through space. Putting the towel under there and kind of neutralizing the hips, pushing us over to one side. And then we can slowly walk our way all the way down if you're not there already. Melt the forehead onto the mat. Maybe rock it back and forth. And like I said before, even though there is a lot of sensation here in this pose, try to keep with your breath. Really nice long inhales. And really deep and full exhales. And whenever you're ready, start to slowly come back up. And again, we're going to pause in that tall spine position here. Gaze is slightly up to the ceiling. And remove any blankets if you have them. And again, we'll plant the hands nice and strong, tucking that back foot, coming up onto the wrist, finding high plank, and then downward dog. Let's pedal out the feet, and we'll lift that left leg up, three-legged dog. And then we'll open it up to the side. So just bend the knee so our hips are open, and then we'll make small circles with that left knee. Before coming back to downward dog. Looking in between the hands, hopper step to the top of the mat. Inhale, upward salute. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's flow through that vinyasa. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long spine. Plant the hands, jumper step back. Plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Good. Bend the knees here. Bring them to the ground for a nice hover. Good. And then come back up. Regular down dog. And let's bring the knees all the way down to the mat this time. And we're going to move through thread the needle. So inhale, twisting up. My left hand is planted, my right hand is in the air, but you can do whichever side your heart desires. And then threading that right hand through the left, coming down to rest on the shoulder. Cheek comes to mat. And let's counter that pose, coming back up the same way we started. Hand nice and high in the air for a twist before we plant it back down. Lifting the other arm, giving it a nice twist Opening the chest, and then threading it through, letting the shoulder come to rest on the ground. Good, we'll counter that pose. Lift the hand one more time, nice and high. Planting it back down on the mat. We'll come to a nice seated position. We're gonna move through some seated cat-cow. My upper back has been killing me lately, so if you feel like this class is a lot of heart openers, that was intentional. So we're gonna put our hands just on like the knees or the shins. Legs can be in bound angle or in crisscross applesauce, whatever feels good for you. And then once our hands are on our shins or our knees, we'll straighten the shoulders and start to do some seated cat-cow. So arching the back, pulling on the shins, and then our inhales brighten the chest, nice and wide. So the same thing we would be doing on all fours. Just finding the same posture here in that seated position. Opening up that heart space and the shoulders and the chest. Good. And slowly start to bring the knees up to the chest. So tilting back onto your sit bones here. I'm going to move to the side. The knees come up. And we're going to find Navasana, boat pose. Holding here, a few breaths. And then using our boat pose to lower us down to the mat, we'll slowly start to melt down until our backs are flat on the mat. Bring the knees to chest and then straighten them back down so you can feel the spine, the whole spine. We want long and flat on the mat here. Take a few deep breaths. Let's draw the right knee into chest, squeezing it tight. We're going to do a nice supine twist, making sure that right arm and right shoulder stay grounded. Twist that right knee across the body. And then slowly bring it back to center. Straighten it back out. Let's hug in that left knee to chest. Nice and close. Making sure that left arm and left shoulder stay nice and grounded. Twist the left leg across your body over to the right. Gaze can be over to the right as well, or for a nice little increase of the twist, look over that left hand, that left shoulder. And we'll bring it back into center. Let's bring both knees into the chest, hugging them nice and close. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together for Supta Baddha Konasana, supine bound angle pose. Let's bring the hands to the low belly. The knees are falling out wide to the side. If you need to take an adjustment of moving the feet maybe farther away from the body or closer in, find that sweet spot. Let's bring the hands to the tummy or the low belly, wherever they fall comfortably. And really feel the stomach rise on your inhale. And feel everything empty out on the exhale. And whenever you're ready, move into Shavasana, our final resting pose at your own time. Maybe you stay in bound angle, that's totally fine. Maybe you take fish pose or child's pose, even an inversion if you're feeling up for it. Whatever rest looks like to you right now, go ahead and find that. Take a few moments to make yourself comfortable. If you're in traditional Shavasana, on our backs here, our feet kind of fall open to the sides. Hands are up towards the sky. Start to lose the conscious breath we've been doing and just notice your natural breath. And even though these practices are not taking place in a studio or a traditional setting, go back to that moment we took in the beginning of our practice to just take into consideration that while we are in our homes, we still have the ability to make it just as sacred of a space as a studio. We're still lucky enough to have cultivated this community to practice online, virtually, together. And although we might just be in our living rooms or offices, we can still take this moment to make it feel a little more sacred. And slowly, whenever you're ready, start to bring some awareness back into the body. And we'll shift over to one side or the other, whichever makes sense to you, for a little fetal position, just for a moment. And then using your hands and control, slowly make your way up to a seated position. Thank you guys so much for practicing with me today. I hope you enjoyed your class. I hope you feel a little bit better, more relaxed. Hopefully you felt good before it and you'll feel good later. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you again for tuning in with me. There is another class on Wednesday for you guys to take, and then Friday as well. And then I'll see you guys back here again next Monday. But yeah, that's all I have. So I'll see you guys later.